Hi everyone, thank you for coming. We'll continue the discussion about IoT. I hope that we understand now what we are doing, right? So we are talking now in the level of the design, the course level, right? So always any course or any class or any seminar related to networks, we start referring from where? From the OS side, first of all, you agree? So let's start with the physical layer, right? And data link layer, the network, and transport, then the application. Right? So in our data network, in the physical layer, what we use, for example, okay, or we call it, for example, IEEE 802.3. Or we are using Wi-Fi, for example, Wi-Fi. We call it IEEE 802.11, right? 11. It could be also, it could be talking. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna come to that. Okay. So, I mean, that's daily life. I'm talking about daily life, right? I mean, we don't use too much, for example, also token rate. There's token rate. Okay. There is something called token bus. Okay. These all technologies, right? But the most common one nowadays, okay, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, Ethernet. Every computer has an Ethernet card, network card. To the point, because it's so common, we call it Ethernet card. It's not an Ethernet card. Ethernet is the name of the technology. Okay, exactly like when you say Xerox machine. It's not a Xerox, it's a different company, but we call it Xerox. It's like we say Kleenex, tissue. Kleenex is the name of a company, it does not mean a tissue. But over time, because it was the first, it became, you understand, like that. So that's what we use, right? In the network layer, what we're using, for example, in the network layer, we're using, for example, IP4, IP6, right? Okay, that's in the host level. Then in the OSPF rep. Okay, different standards we are using all the time, right? When it comes to the transport, the most common are TCP and UDP, right? We use them every day. When it comes to the application, applications kind of unlimited, so many applications. The most common that we use is the HTTP, right? Or HTTPS. Okay, Telnet, SSH. Okay, many applications, right? So this is the real life. Now, and in the past, we started, like, for example, from a PC, right? From a PC, all right? That it has 4 megabytes of RAM. Okay, so I'll tell you my first PC I built. Okay, it was 4 megabytes. It was 8 megabytes of hard disk drive. Okay, it was I think 33 megahertz. Okay, it was i386 EX maneuver. Okay, the potential I forgot. It's also good. That's talking about 1990, almost 1990. That's my first PC I bought. At that time, nobody has PCs. I was lucky that my dad bought me a PC. So I remember that very few in my college had PC, personal PC. I had. All right. Okay, so then the hardware was growing, right? Improving every day. So if you look at any regular configuration for your PC laptop, you can find now what 8 cores, right? 8 CPUs, very fast. We have 16 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte of hard disk drive, right? The hardware increasing and improving and all of that, right? So having like these protocols Okay, so we were able, because of the hardware, to move, for example, from HTTP to HTTPS, which is more sluggish, you know, it's a bigger frame, it takes more time, but that was okay. Then, what we did now, is that we are now, we went back, not from here to here, actually went from here maybe to smaller things, and we're coming now with the microcontrollers or small devices or sensors, okay, sensors, let's say, okay, small microcontrollers. That needs to run these algorithms, which is, or which are very too big for the small, right? So now we went, for example, from hard, we went from the RAM, it would be, for example, maybe the RAM would be, instead of 4 meg, it would be 128K. The ROM will be another 128K, the ROM, okay, which is hard to get right the RAM, okay. The processor, meter, and all of that. But, you know, we have a few of these, we have many of these, but nowadays we have billions of these things, right? So these, the code are very smart, right? So we came with a course that could fit the IoT these days. So last time, for example, we said instead of using HTTP, what we're going to use? Well, right? Okay. In here, instead of using TCP, what we use? Triple. Okay. In here, sales law, and okay. And here, instead of using these, what we're going to use? That was you mentioned. We're going to use 8, 4, 2, 16, 4. Okay? Low power devices, low power and lossy devices. One example of the 602, 16, 4 is the ZigBee. ZigBee is a small computer, low memory, okay, low ROM, hard disk drive, low processing, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, the technology here. So we already covered the code, we covered the Ripple, we covered the 6LoWPAN, and today we're going to talk an example in the physical clear what we're going to talk about today? All right. The ZigBee, it covers not only the physical layer, but also part of the DLL layer, which is the MAC layer. DLL usually has 2 sub-layers. So DLL, data link usually has 2 sub-layers. What are they? The MAC and the link layer, right? Okay, the link layer. Anyways, so that's what we're going to talk about. It's so clear what we were doing, all of that. Okay, we have seen how we could have protocols that could run in these small devices, alright, small devices. You cannot have Ethernet in a small device. You have to have different technology. Alright, so that's what we'll be talking about today. And the other thing, just to refresh your memory, when you are communicating, okay. Again, always that's our reference. So we are communicating, we are sending the data. So we have an HTTP. Okay, we have an HTTP, right? So we have the data, and again another one, HTTP header, right? When it moves to the transport, the same thing will come. Okay, so we're gonna have the data, and we're gonna have header 1, and we're gonna header 2, and so on and so forth until we go. So each layer will add a header. All right. So what is the advantage of code over HTTP? The header is smaller, and the data, or the maximum MTU, maximum transfer unit, is smaller. Okay, we cannot have large packets. All right. The other thing I need you to know that in the physical, what we call it, what we call the data, frame. Okay. In the network layer, what we call it, packet. In the transport, what we call it, signal. Or data graph if you are using data graph, if you are using what they will be. So each layer has a different name. So the data will be segmented, it comes to packet, and then becomes frame. What is the unit in the frame? Bits. Okay? So also these terms is very important, I mean, sometimes we mix them together, that's fine, I mean, if you understand, but that's the name, okay? Right? It's exactly like when he's born, what we call them infant, then baby, then child, then adult, then I don't know, old man, elder, then
Grief.
Did, right? And then second did, right? But we don't have second did here. Are you still confused or you're okay? You're okay, so you're confused, okay. Alright, so we'll move to ZP. So you understand what ZP now. So effective using the works in what layer? Can you tell me? ZP in what layer? Huh? In both, you said in both physical and DLR, in the first two layers, right? 6 low band, much layer works. And the network layer. About Ripple.
Transport layer.
Ripple.
The Ripple works in the transport
In the network layer. What works in the transport layer? Six low band works in the network layer in the host. It replaces IP6, right? And Ripple in the routers, right? It's like routing protocol. Remember, explain the difference between routing and routing protocol?
First, and the transport.
So you're saying that both 6LoWPAN and Ripple work in the network layer?
In the network layer.
Both of them work in the network layer?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought Ripple worked in the transport layer. So what works in the transport layer?
You tell me. What do you use in transport layer?
UDP?
UDP, right? We use UDP, which is used everywhere, right? Most of the networks use TCP, but we use UDP because it's connections, right? That's what, anyway, let's talk a little bit about ZigBee. All right, so ZigBee, it has many applications. So we're going to talk about protocol, alliance, etc., all of that. So this is the introductory that we know I can skip. So we know why we need ZigBee. I already explained it before. Because we need, we need devices that could last for long, but they are small, right? So the 802.15.4 covers physical 15. Let's say 16 there. Anyways. Okay, covers physical layer and MAC layer. So it covers two layers. So that's a great question. It covers the physical and the MAC layer. The ZigBee is an emerging standard that is based on 15.4. All right. And it covers different topologies. So the network will be structured, it could be star networks, or it could be peer-to-peer, or it could be a combination of the cluster tree networks. All right? And covers the applications. Okay? So this is talking about how it's growing and the size of it. Why ZigBee? Why we need the ZigBee in the physical layer? Okay? The standard based. It has a standard. So when you have a standard, many companies could manufacture. They could compete to have a better product according to this kind of standard and a lower price. Low cost can be used globally, reliable and self-healing, supports large number of nodes. You could have millions of ZigBee, right? And easy to deploy, very long battery life, and secure. It gives security. So we'll cover whatever we can cover. So when you are picking a project, a technology, you have to, in terms of the size, you start with wireless personal area network, then wireless LAN, then metropolitan area network, then wireless wide area network. So this is in terms of the size of that network. And here, in terms of that data rate. So for example, if you are looking for solutions for IoT, this is the area. So using ZigBee, for example, or Bluetooth, right? There's other future technologies. You could use also Wi-Fi. Yes.
Can this replace RFID or
Can replace Wi-Fi,
So Zigbee can replace RFI.
RFI, different applications. Okay, it different could for some applications, but RFID, you mean RFID, right?
Yeah, it can
Yeah,
replace RFI.
it could. Some applications could. Okay, but RFID is very solid, and RFID is, RFID everywhere. The doors, like when you open the doors, the tolls. Okay, and the RFID is like it could be a small application, it could be big application, right? By the way, next class we're going to talk about RFID. So I'll give you a good introduction about RFID. Maybe a couple of lectures we'll talk about RFID. It's a lot of things to cover. All right, so you have to look at the data rate. VCP is a very low data rate. All right, very low data rate. So for example, if you're gonna have a security cameras everywhere, is it a good thing for it? No, it's not. All right, because it's a very data low rate. I mean, just to send one picture in 1 year. All right, I'm exaggerating, of course. Okay, so you have to know what kind of application that you need to have. Bluetooth 10 years ago was very common in the phones. Everybody used Bluetooth to pair and talk to friends, but there's still many applications. Anyways, so many supporters for the application and many applications for Zigbee. All right, so for security, for light control, for health, and in general for telecom, communicate for security and the VC repairs and all of that. Anyways, so we're talking about sensors. By the way, using sensors or network sensors is not something new. Our cars have sensors, right? Long time ago. How you have when you have a problem? How you know there's a problem? By the sensors, right? There is engine check. The only problem, the connection is wired to your data, right? But nowadays, if you have a modern car, if you have Chevy like me, Suburban, okay, 2016, all right, so they call me when the oil is due. They call me. How they know? Sensors check. There is antenna reported to them. So all the cars, even for a service, is connected, right? All right, especially with having a. So sensor is something not new. It's been 30, 40, 50 years ago maybe. But what's new here is wireless and everywhere. Okay, and data collection. All right, so home automation could be used in industrial monitoring and many other applications. Don't have a patient, commercial lighting control. All right, so I mean that's blah 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 blah, right? We already spoke about it a lot. So the standard 15.4 defines physical layer and media access control sublayer. All right, and it's for low data rate. Wireless connectivity with fixed, portable, and moving devices with no battery or very limited battery. So it's a very low consumption of battery, and that's a cool goal in our class. It works in the personal operating space about 10 meters. So the transmission is about 10 meters. All right, you cannot expect two Zigbees like in two different cities to communicate. It's about 10 meters, right? That's why we call it PAN, wireless personal area network. It's like, even smaller than this room, because from here to there, I think it's about 10 meters. Okay, go ahead and check it. That's the meter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 meters. So if I put a Zigbee there, maybe they're not able to communicate. So it's a very small area, all right? Anyways, so here's what we are talking about. Okay, the Zigbee starts from the physical layer. We have two standards for Zigbee, two bands. Okay, we have the 868, 950 megahertz, and we have the free band. This is the free band, the 2400 megahertz. This is a free band. You can build any device in this range. This is your devices. On top of that, you can have the MAC. On top of that, there is some layer called SCCS, and they go to the link layer control. Right? Remember that the data link layer has two layers. One is MAC, the other one link layer control. And this is from any DCC class you should have known. So Zigbee protocol covers these three areas, these three layers, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. Okay? All right. So let's talk about device types in ZigBee, right? All right. So it defines many. So we call it low rate wireless personal area network. There is two kinds of devices. There is full function device, FFD, and there is reduced function device, RFD. So how many kinds of devices do you have? Full function and reduced function. Okay? The RFD can be used in a simple application in which they do not need to transmit large amounts. Okay? The RFD, which is reduced, very low amount of data needs to be transmitted, and they can communicate with the full function device. So the low function device only can communicate with a full function device. That means two low end devices cannot communicate together. Clear? Two low end cannot communicate together. The other device, which is the FDD, which is the full function device, can work as there's two things. There is a PAN coordinator, and there is coordinator, and there is a regular device, a transmitting device. Okay? So the full function, it will work as a PAN coordinator, which we'll explain in a second, or as a coordinator, or as a simple device. All right? It can communicate with either full function device or reduced function device. All right. So let's review. What kind of devices we have? Two kinds. What? No, two devices. FFD and RFD. What's FFD? Full function device. Reduced function device. That's in terms of a device itself, the hardware. In terms of function, how many devices we have? 3. PAN coordinator, and central device. Alright? Okay, that's in terms of function. Okay. Now, PAN coordinator must be full function device. Coordinator must be full function device. Simple device could be both or either. Clear? Alright. So low rate wireless band topologies in keeping with the application requirements, the low rate wireless personal area network operate in a star or peer-to-peer topology. So how many topologies there? How many? 5 topologies. What they are? No, how many for ZigBee? 3. Star, peer-to-peer, or mixed. That we call it mesh, or a cluster. 3, right? All right. So the star topology, the RFID communicate with a single controller. So what is the star? There is a controller in the middle. There is a controller at the middle, and then you have many devices. That's what we call it the star. So it's kind of communication. So any communication has to happen through the controller. So if A would like to send to B, it has to go through the controller. That's what we call it, star topology. So the band coordinator can perform the same function as the RFD, reduced function, but it is also responsible for the controlling the band. So it initiates the communication, transmits communication, or blocks communication. So that's the function of the. All right. Peer-to-peer topology supports ad hoc mesh multi-hop. The mesh. What is mesh? Everybody can communicate with everybody. So if I have 20 sensors in here, or 24 sensors in this room from A to Z, so anyone could communicate directly without controller in the middle. Right? So any device in the peer-to-peer topology can communicate with any other device without its communication range, within its communication range. However, this topology also has a PAN coordinator. So why we need a PAN coordinator? If everybody can communicate with each other. Okay, kind of us, if we are sensors now, okay, you can communicate together, right? Right? I am the PAN coordinator. So yes, he can talk to his friend in here, but with my permission. Okay, I am the PAN coordinator. Otherwise it becomes confusion, it will be a problem, right? So although everybody can communicate with so I'm not the star, I'm not the center. When he needs to communicate with her, he does not need to send a message to me, I send it to her. He could communicate directly, but I am here with my presence, I am controlling the whole process. So I am the PAN controller.
So he's not connected to you.
Huh?
Is he connected to you?
Of course, he's connected to me, and he's connected to you. But if he needs to talk to you, he has to take permission from me.
So, but he doesn't necessarily need to go through you. He
No.
doesn't need permission.
Only for the permission.
Only permission.
For permission, yes. To control the whole process, right? But he could communicate directly. Okay? So, okay. Now, each device has to have address, right? Okay? Remember, what is the size of the hardware address? Either 64 bits or the short one, 16 bits, right? Like Ethernet card, what is the size of the Ethernet card? How many bits? 48 bits, right? Everybody knows 48 bits. But when we try to write the 48 bits into the IP address, we convert it to 64. Remember we did the process? So, but the standard, the hardware address has to be how many bits? 64 bits. Some technologies use smaller bits, so we have to convert them to 64 bits. One example is Ethernet. When we try to convert it into IP6, we convert it, and there's a mechanism. Remember we studied the mechanism, how to do the conversion, all right? You'll have good questions in your exam about that. All right. So the device in the low-rate devices have a unique 64-bit address. This or a short allocated or the short address 16-bit. This will be allocated by who? By the PAN coordinator. So the PAN coordinator will be allocating the address, the hardware address. Each PAN has a unique identifier. So what is PAN? This is PAN is a network. This is a network, right? PAN, right? So the whole PAN, this is the PAN, and has unique ID. Right? And each one has to have a unique ID. So what is the ID of this one? It's the network ID plus the device ID. Okay. So this is right. So what's the ID in here? It's the PAN ID and the ID of the device. So what's the ID of the device in here? For example, the ID in here 27. So what is the ID in here to be 27 and B? Right? Remember, like the IP address, we have the network address and we have the host address, two parts, prefix and suffix. The same thing. The whole PAN will have ID. The whole personal area network have an ID. This PAN ID is everywhere in here. Everyone has the same ID. But each one of them has a sub-ID. Have sub-ID. Right? Clear? Okay? Clear with this? Yeah. Alright. Alright, so the PAN had a unique identifier. The combination of the PAN identifier and the address allotted allows communication across different PANs. Alright, so in here, so if I have another PAN in here, let's take a solid numbers. So this says I have another PAN. Let's have a connection here. Okay, in here we have it, the coordinator. Okay. Okay. So let's call this A, B, C, D, E. Alright. We call this A. This is A. This is C. This is D. This is E. So let's say the PAN ID in here is 27, and the PAN ID here, the PAN ID equals 10. All right. So what is the address of this? The device. 10B, what's the address of this? 10C, 10D, right? 10E, how about this? 27E, right? So who is responsible to communicate across the bands? The coordinator. That's the coordinator here. And that's the coordinator. So we're gonna need a coordinator, whether the topology is a star or the topology is peer-to-peer. Clear? Alright? So in the mission here, D can communicate with the C without going through the coordinator. But if you have to go outside the pan, you have to go through the coordinator to communicate with the device there. In here, all the communications has to go through the coordinator, whether internal or external. Clear? So each pan has a unique identifier, the combination of the, okay. So let's look at this. So this is, what is this? This is star topology. So the black one is a full function device, and the white one is reduced function device. What we say that reduced function device only can communicate with a full function device. Full function device can communicate with full function device. You cannot see, anyways, this is star. Everybody has to go through the coordinator. In here, a mesh is a peer-to-peer. So this can communicate with this, all right? But I cannot have two wires communicating together because the reduced has to communicate with full function device, right? And that's the band coordinator, and that's the band coordinator, and that's the communication, right? It's very important to know when you build your network, you have to know whether you have a full function device or reduced function device. And you have to know what kind of communication. So if you put the reduced function device next to many reduced function device, you cannot communicate because the reduced has to communicate with the full. So you have to design your network. The full is much more expensive maybe. And according to your application, you have to design it in the star topology or in a peer-to-peer or star. So here, star topology, that's a parent coordinator, so this kind of a master display. So again, this is the F50 and this is the reduced, all right? And this is again, we have peer-to-peer, same thing. Okay, so you have the parent coordinators can communicate across the network, So when you have to communicate across the network, you have to go through the PAN. Agree? Through the PAN. All right? So cluster 3 going to void. Okay. Then here we have the confined communication. So you see, this is the network. So you have to make sure, so the cluster stars. This is the star with the star with the star. So cluster, for example, the cluster nodes exist between rooms of hotel, and each room has a star network for control. So if you have a smart hotel rooms, everything, you would have many sensors in each room, you could connect the multiple rooms with the cluster. So here what you have, this is the star. This star connects what? Multiple, 2 stars and 1 node. This here connects what? 1 node and a star. And so on. Right? So it needs some design. Think about that you're building this network for a hotel. Okay, each hotel will have 5 sensors. So each floor have 10 rooms or 100 rooms. So 5 times 100 is 500. How this all is, right? And you should be able to read all the sensors from one place. So each sensor will have a unique ID. And who assigns the unique ID is the PAN coordinator. Little bit complex, so you have to understand PAN concept. So, all right. So let's talk about the physical layer. We said it spans 2 layers, or 3 layers actually, the physical and the data link, which is had the MAC and link layer, right? So let's talk about the physical layer. So it specifies two different services that physical layer provides. Okay, the physical, there's two, what are the two? The physical data surface and the management surface. So data will go, the real data will go through the physical layer, right? And also the management information can go through the physical, right? Remember always that when you're talking about the network, there's two types of data. What are the two types of data? Management and data. Controller, right? We spoke about that, right? So there is a channel for management, communication, and there is a channel for real data that I'm transmitting, right? And all of this has to go through the layers, has to go through the physical layer to where? To the wire, if it's a wire, or wireless, if it's wireless. And they go through what? What kind of containers? Frames. In the physical layer, what we call it? Frame, right? And any frame is built of what? Header and payload. Payload coming from where? From the upper layer. And so, yeah. Basic concepts, all right? If you understand these concepts, you could analyze any protocol. And you can compare any protocol, all right? In the header, there is a lot of information. Every information is needed, as we'll see, for something, to tell something. Tell who? Tell the receiver. The receiver can receive a header, okay? I'm sending you a letter, okay? Okay? So the letter has two parts. Has the data, which is the paper inside, and has what? The header. The envelope, call it header. So what is that when you send it to the mail room? The mail room, what does it do? Read the letter? Does it read the letter, the mail room? What does it read? The header. What is the header? The envelope. Okay? What does the envelope have? Information. What is it for? To manage delivering the whole letter, right? The mail room is from address. Okay, so it comes, for example, sent from Bridgeport to San Jose in California. So in here, what they do? I mean, when it comes to the mail room, they send it to where? To the mail room. Okay? From there, what they do? They don't care about anything. You know what they care about? Two things. There is a stamp, enough stamp, and there is what? A state. So they put it in a big box for all the mail going to where? To California. They don't even care about what city in California. Then all of this mail goes to what place in California to receive it. Now what they care about? City. So there are boxes. San Jose, Los Angeles, okay? Or zip codes, by zip code, okay? Then now they don't care about they care about the state, they don't care about it, except for verification. It's in the right place. But they don't care about anything else, right? Do they care about the street address now? They don't. Then it will be shipped to the mail office in that city or zip code. Now what they care about? The street and the street address. Okay? The street address, they don't care about the number. Why? Because every man is responsible, every person is responsible for a street. So they gotta put it in his box. Now who gonna worry about the house number? The mailman. The mailman, right? Same thing in here. When you're sending the data, there's a header. The header will help to route where it's gonna go. Where is it coming from? What kind of quality of service you're gonna have? What kind of addressing? What if there is a missing data? All of it will help to manage that. So this header has to be read every time and to be sometimes regenerated. You read it and you generate it. Because, okay, some information is not needed anymore. Why should I keep throwing? Okay, depends on the protocol. So you have to understand the concept, how networks work. If you understand this concept, will you be able to understand Ethernet, or WiMAX, Wi-Fi, any technology, all right? Any technology. And you could build your own. You could build your own protocol, design your own protocol. Clear? All right. So there's two different surfaces. Here the physical data surface controls the radio and plus the transmission and reception of the PDU. What is PDU? PDU is packet data units, and P here for physical packet data units, because that's what we have, the frame, okay, PDU, okay, the physical link. Send it where? It's gonna come from top, from the application into the physical, you're gonna send it. Send it by what? By radio, RF, radio, right? So, what you will do, the physical layer, receive the data, will convert it to what? Signal, energy. Send it by using antenna. Antenna will send it out, okay? Right? That's the function of the physical layer, right? Now, in the management service performs energy detection, that's management. There's a lot of management. I have to know the level of the energy, I have to know the quality of the signal, I have to know the how far and how close there is many management things. Okay, so when you would like to know about the energy, you as a person trusting me, do you care about the energy level? You don't. You care about the data is delivered or not delivered. Okay, but who cares about it? The system. All right? You have to make sure that there is a lot of management things work, right? Right? So for example, yourself in here, as a student, do you care about who's the president or who's the vice president of the university or something? Right? You don't care. Or who's the dean or who's the, you care. What do you care about? I am the instructor in front of you. Do I deliver to you or I don't deliver? Do you understand me? Are you having good education or not, right? But the reality, this university cannot run without the top management because they are the people hired. And they are the people who will let me go if I don't perform very well. So the same thing. I mean, people sending the data is the most important thing, but it cannot run by itself. It has to have management. It has to have management for the data, right? Cameraman, you agree? Yeah, okay. I feel bad for him, he keep following me. I try to stand, but I cannot stand in one place myself. So, I think he will lose 10 pounds by the end of the semester. So the management service performs energy detection in the channel. So you have to have clear channel assessment. What is a clear channel assessment? If you try to transmit in a channel, I try to stand. If you try to send in a channel and the channel is busy, what will happen? Collision. So before you transmit, you have to make sure that clear channel assessment. You have to assess that channel, is it clear to send? Right? It's exactly like the airplanes in the airport. There's so many coming and going. So when you are riding the airplane, it moves and stands. Stands for what? For an instruction that it's clear to fly. Otherwise, collision will happen. Okay, so it has to have an assessment that before sending the message that, how we can do the assessment using two things. There is LQ, linking quality indicator, and there is something called RSSI. Okay, linking quality indicator, the lower the better. Okay, so the lower the better. RSSI, the higher is the better. Okay, receive signal strength indicator, or RSSI, right? That's right about it in here. Okay, there is RSSI and there is link quality indicator, the linking quality. The lower the higher. Okay? Anyways. See? You have to move. Alright, so there is basically two bands for using, okay? So that's in Europe, that's in North America, that's in worldwide. Okay? Anyways, I don't want to go over the modulation. We knew that from mobile communication, all of that. And the bit rate, so this is smaller, it's like 20 bits, 40 bits, and this is the number of channels. So you have 1 channel, 10 channels, and 16 channels. Okay, 16 channels. Okay, I'm sure you're talking mobile communication, okay? Mobile communication. So usually that you try, for communication you have to have channels. You make sure they are not overlapping. If they are overlapping, then collision will happen. So if node A would like to node B, they have to be in the same channel frequency, right? Think about channel as a language. If I need to communicate with this person, okay, both of us have to speak ND, for example. All right? Otherwise, it's different channels. You cannot understand. All right. The PDU packet format. This is the packet format for the PDU. So it has a preamble for synchronization, 4 lines. Then SFD, we'll talk about this in 1 line. Then frame length is 7 bits. So what is the maximum length of a frame? 2 to the power 7, which is 128 bits. 128 bits. Right? 128 bits, right? All right. 127 bytes. 127 bytes. Or 120, anyways, 127 bytes. And this is reserved with it. And then you have the payload. So this is kind of fixed. Why? Because it has fixed preamble, 4 bytes, plus 1 byte, plus 1 byte. So how many bytes the header? 4 plus 1 plus 1? 6 bytes, right? These two we call it SHR, and this we call it PHR. Okay? Honestly, I don't know S stands for what. Header, this header, B, I don't know what stands for what. And then we have the payload. Payload up to, the whole thing has to be up to 127 bytes. So 127 minus 6, how much? 121. The maximum data, load data, it will be what? 120, 121 bytes. If every byte is a character, so how many characters you could have in the message? 21. Right? So the way you set it, you start with the least significant bit. Least significant bit starts is always transmitted and received first. Okay. The PPDU size can be up to 127 bytes because that's the frame length, right? 2 to 27. So when you set the frame A12 have information about its size. So when the receiver reads the size of the frame is, for example, 60 bytes and receives 59 bytes, what does it mean? The frame is wrong. Okay? So that's it. And why is it very important also? To know where to start to read, right? And what to expect. Anyways. Okay, SFD field, where is SFD field here? It's 1 byte. Okay? Which is, the 1 byte is 8 bits. Okay, so bit 0, 1, 2, up to 7. Okay, SFD field is an 8-bit field of an object. It is a delimiter between the preamble and packet data. So this is a preamble, and this the packet data. Okay, delimiter is separator. Okay, and both preamble and SFD combined refer to SHR, so we call it. Frame length is part of the PHR, as you see here. That's the frame length here. Okay. And variable length payload carries man sublayer. Okay. Because the data here, what is the data here? Coming from where? From the upper layer. What's the upper layer? It's a map. And map contains what? Again, header and payload. Alright? And the map coming from where? From the transport layer, from the network layer, right? From the network layer, right? And the network layer, the payload coming from where? Transport layer, all the way down. Clear? So the PDU size can be up to 227 bytes. Okay. So what is the function of this? Just to separate this from this. And it has the same format. It's always 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So when you read this byte, you know that is the separation between the preamble and the next of the frame. What's the purpose? For synchronization. Alright? Now, when you look at the frame length format, where's the frame length for frame length in here? Frame length. How many bits? So if it's 0 to 7, the reserve. If it's 5, MPDU, if it's an acknowledgement packet. 6 to 7 is reserved. 8 to a maximum physical packet size, it will be that this is a map packet data unit. Map packet data unit. So anyways, the max so frame length is, as mentioned, is a 7 bits in length and signifies the total number of objects by angles. All right. So we finished the physical frame. So the physical frame again, that's the physical frame. Okay, it has preamble, which is a fixed combination. Then we have SMT, which is a fixed combination. Then we have the lace, the base underneath of the frame. Then this is reserve. Okay. Reserve does not matter what's the value. It's not used. Reserve is not used. And then we have the payload. The payload coming from where? From the map. Let's take a look what we have in here. Okay. So the map layer interface between the SSCS and the physicalist. Okay, let me remind you. Here. So this is a map layer, this interface between the SSCS and physical. Okay, it's the interface between these, right? Alright. Similar to the physical layer, the mat layer supports two surfaces. What are the surfaces? Data and management. Data and management. So the MAC data surface is responsible for the transmission and reception of the MAC PDUs, okay, through the physical data surface. The management surface, if the device is a coordinator. Now, how many types of devices we have in terms of function? 3. Pan coordinator, coordinator, symbol device, right? So, if the device is a coordinator, that means what? It will send coordination messages, right? If it's a simple device, it will send only data. If it's a coordinator, it will send 2 types. It could send the data or it could send management. Simple, right? So, if the device is a coordinator, manages the network beacons. What are beacons? Beacons. What are beacons? Huh? Beacons are messages
To detect to authenticate, like the Wi-Fi sends the beacon as.
It's a messages to control the operation. That's a beacon. So, for example, if I send solicitation message, I need a router. So, what is this? Beacon. Okay. If you are looking for a router to connect to, what are you gonna send? Beacon. For synchronization, now these devices are not connected to the same network. So to be able to communicate, they have to have the same clock. They have to be synchronized, right? So from time to time, you have to send synchronization beacon. So you tell everybody, time now is 12 o'clock. Fix your clocks. Right? It's beacon. Beacon are messages sent for management. That's beacons. A common word used in the data networks. So beacons, it is also responsible for pan coordination and association. So you could have many ZigBee devices. Some of them are associated with this network or not associated with this network. So for example, this device E, the device E in here is associated with this PAN. How about when it's associated like that and expand this will become like that. So it's associated with this PAN. Okay? You could have multiple PANs in the area and you should be associated with one network, right? But you could dissociate, right? Remember in here there is no wires. It's kind of logical association and deassociation, right? So now this device is what? 10E. So there is a 10E here that will be coupled, so we have to change this to F, for example. Who gives the F, the address F? So there is a whole process to associate with the network and deassociate with the network. So that association and deassociation. Then frame validation. to validate the frame. We'll see in a second. And acknowledgement. Okay? Some of the communications are acknowledged, and some of them they are not acknowledged. Okay? Providing a reliable link between two peer and so we have reliable kind of connection with acknowledgement, or not reliable with no acknowledgement. So right options. It will use the CSMA-CA. What is this?
Collision access.
Carrier sends multiple access collision.
Access.
Huh?
Collision access.
Collision
Asset access.
avoidance. So this is one of the common protocols. Again, the Ethernet does not use collision avoidance. What do you use? Collision detection. All right. So what this carrier says, okay, and this is from ECC. Let me try to explain it very quickly, just to refresh your memory. All right. So usually, like when you have like in here devices like that. All right. Okay. So here we are. A, B, C, D. So if there is a communication to happen, between A and B. So what A has to do? Put the bits in the wire, we call it the carrier, and this carrier will be sent everywhere. Okay? And everybody will hear it. But who will take the carrier with the message? B. Why? Because when we send the data, okay, we have the data. But we have the source address and we have the destination address. What is the source address? A. What is the destination address? S. B. Because this is a common carrier, common wire. Everybody will hear. So A, B, C, D, everybody will hear. The only computer will take it as B. Why? Because we have a B. So here, when you send this packet, C will hear it. The first thing you're gonna go read, what is the destination address? Oh, it's B. I am C. I'm not taking it. It goes to here. So D, it will read the packet. What is the destination address? It's B. It's not mine. I'm not going to take it. It's gonna go here to B. What's gonna read? This is B. Oh, this is my packet. It will read it. It will take it. All right. So that's what we call it. Okay, carrier. Okay. Carrier. You understand what's carrier, right? What is sensing? So what will happen if A and B try to send at time zero, and C and D? Okay, before that. So A, when A needs to send the data, what does it do first? It sends that carrier. It listens to the carrier. Sense. There is no transmission. It's a valve. So go ahead and send the backup. So, because it's a common, it's a carrier sense. Exactly when you talk. If you need to talk, what is the first thing you have to make sure that nobody's talking? Otherwise, there's a collision, right? That's what is carrier sense, the CS. Multiple access. Why is it multiple access? Because everybody has access to the carrier. So what will happen if A wants to send to B, at the same time C wants to listen to D? So A will do at the same time, we'll see what they both will be doing. Listen. So there is no transmission. So A goes and sends the data, and C goes and sends the data. What will happen? Collision. All right, collision. And that's a problem. Both, the data is garbled for both of them. All right. In Ethernet, what we do, we used to have collision avoidance, we have collision detection. So both nodes will detect because when they send, they keep listening. So if they see the data has changed, the data they sent has changed, that means what? Collision has happened. All right? So what they do? Collision detection. And if there is a collision detection, what they do? They refrain from sending a certain protocol. All right? If collision happens again, they wait longer, and so on and so forth. That does not work in wireless communication. Why? Because there's no media, there's no carrier. What is a carrier? It's the air. So they cannot hear back, right? If there's a collision. Alright? So what we try to do in here, avoidance, not detection. Completely avoid the whole collision. Collision avoidance. Alright? How collision avoidance happen, we explained it in the other class, by exchanging a simple message. So before A sends a message, it will send a message that requests to send. So who hears it? All the neighbors within the region. So let's say that the range of hearing. Everyone will hear it. Request to send, RTS. Okay? Then if they hear it, what they will do, that next note will not send for a certain time, and some of them will send clear to send. Will send to A, clear to send. So you are clear to send. Okay? So what we are trying in here, to avoid collision at all. Okay? Right? So if you could go back to the model communication to know what not. So what we use, collision avoidance for channel access and handles the maintenance and maintain the GTM, okay, the guaranteed times. There's a guaranteed time when it goes to be sent. So when you give you clear to send, there's a guaranteed time. You have to send within that time. Because the time is guaranteed that nobody will send, right? Okay, so who does that? Who does the carrier sense multiple access collision avoidance? That's the function. And this is part of what? Part of the data transfer services or management services? Management services. It's part of the management services. Clear? So that part of that management and the supports device security. So what is MAC is used for? MAC is used for many things. Okay, it's used for data services, for sending the data to the physical layer, and for management. Okay, which is managed. It's used for association, dissociation, validation, acknowledgement, for carrier system multiple access, collision avoidance, and for security. All of these are the function of the MAC layer. A lot of things that we have to talk about, right? Somebody has to do the job. Some protocols, this job moved up or down, it doesn't matter. Just we are studying a protocol, we need to see how it works. All right. Now the question, is it perfect? Is it ideal? Well, that's why you have your researchers. You could go and build a different model for ZigBee and compare it with the performance, and it could come up with a different protocol or modification. That's why we always remember, like at the first, for example, Wi-Fi. It was 802.11b. Then we have C. Then we have G. Then we have N. Right? We keep changing. Right? Why? Because the researchers like you work very hard in improving it, and then we come with a new protocol. All right? So it's not necessarily the best solution in all of them. All right? So I will stop right here. Okay. It seems like we have to cover another lecture, and still I have a lot to cover about ZigBee. All right, but please go over it for next lecture. We'll continue next lecture. We'll talk about the rest. Yes.
It's a slide on this canvas.
Huh?
This slide is on the canvas.
On the canvas, yes. I'll upload it. If not, I'll upload it right now. Okay. Thank you so much. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll continue talking about IoT. So last class we started with ZigBee, and we're gonna continue with ZigBee today. So if you remember, just to refresh your memory, always we talk about networks. Okay, we talk about we start from the OSI reference model, right? So you know the OSI reference model, we have 7 layers, right? So start with the physical, then the data lane, then the network, then transport, then the application. So, we said in IoT because of the LLN devices, we will see multi devices, there are low power, lossy devices. We cannot run the typical protocols that we see in real. So, for example, in applications you have HTTP, for example. In transport you have UDP plus TCP. Right? And networks, you have the IP, okay, plus OSPF, for example, RED, and other protocols, RED, just keep like that. In the data link, in the physical layer, for example, you have 802.11 for wireless. Another example, for example, 802.3 for Ethernet networks. All right. So there is different protocols running in each layer. Okay. However, these are very sluggish, very big. Okay. If you remember that the way communication happens starts with the application, right? Okay. So you have a header, for example, for the application layer, let's say, and the payload is called the payload, right? Okay. Then when it goes down to the transport, you're gonna have the same payload. This will move. You're gonna have the same. So this will move here. This will move in here, and then you're gonna have header for the transport layer, right? And when it moves down, the same thing, right? So this will move in here, so this will be the main load. This will be the main load, the same thing. This will be header for the application, header for the application, and then we have header for transport, and then header for the network layer, for example. Keeps adding headers until and the same thing in here. Everything will move down, and we're gonna have a header, for example, for the data link layer, or it's called MAC. And then you're gonna go through the physical again, and then here you're gonna add one more header and physical, right? So the data is growing. Data is growing. And we're adding the headers to tell information about the packet. As an example, a common information you're gonna have for example, the port address. Port address has to be somewhere in the transport layer. What is a port? Okay? Not only the port, it has to have the source and the destination port, right? Where is it coming from, where is it going from to, right? The IP address, okay, source and destination, right? In here, in this level, what we will have? It will have that hardware address. Hardware address, okay? It will be the MAC address, right? And so on and so forth. So the header is information, added information required to be able to have a communication end to end. What do you mean end to end? So, in the network what you have, you're going to have a host, right? The host does not run by itself. It's a part, for example, part of a local area network. So let's say we have a switch in here. You'll have another host. This will build a local area network. Local area network, right? Local area network. Right? Local area network, these will be able to communicate among themselves, but to be able to connect to other networks, okay, you have to make it part of the internet. You agree? So you have to connect it to router, okay? And the router will be part of the internet. What is the internet? Is a connection of routers. Millions of routers connected together, all right? And if I need to connect another node in a different host to, let's say, in a different network, then you have a router that connects that to the internet. So when you say end-to-end communication, it's like we don't see anything. It's like there is a wire, like this, a wire going from here to that destination. That we call end-to-end communication. So it's like the packet sent directly from one end to the other end, end-to-end communication, right? All right. So what we're trying to say is that this is we find it everywhere, right? All right. And for example, Ethernet, if you're gonna pass it over a backbone network, so you have the SONET, convert Ethernet over SONET. Okay, big story, right? All right. So the question is, what kind of hardware, what kind of protocols we have? So in here, we said instead of HTTP, we use, for example, CoAP, right? We're gonna use Unity because it's lighter, right? We don't use IPv6, we use 6LoWPAN, right? We don't use OSPF, but we use Report, right? In here, we don't, of course, use these because we don't need them. We use, like, for example, 802.16.4, which is LNNs, low powered and lossy networks, for low powered and lossy networks, right? So if you remember, we explained what is called and compared to HTTP, we explained what 6LoWPAN. 6 is for IP6, IP is removed. Okay, we compared it with IP6, and we compared it with OSPF. So we started talking about some of the technologies in the first level, ZigBee. So ZigBee covers the first two layers, the physical layer and the MAC layer. All right, the physical layer and the MAC layer. And it's one of the technology. I'm sure all of you have used ZigBee. It's used everywhere. Okay, how is it formed and all of that. So we started explaining that. So today we'll go quickly over what we covered last time, and then we move in quickly. Any questions? Any questions? Yes.
So I couldn't find this slide on the canvas.
I'll put it today. If I forgot, I'm sorry. Send me an email. I will remember. Anyways. Thanks. All right. So ZigBee. So ZigBee has many applications, right? And we already went through all of that, and we know why we need ZigBee, why we need these small devices. So the key here is it's a low rate of communication. Okay. The frames or the packets are small, and they consume the least amount of power. All right. And these kind of applications that we use it for. So we covered all of these and didn't care about this. So we said that for any application you have to look at your wireless application. Mostly IoT and IT applications are wireless. It could be wired. As I told you, I mean, IoT is about sensing. Sensing means collecting data. Okay, what is difference than before than now? We have sensors for so many years. We have sensors for 50 years. The cars have sensors. Okay, the houses have sensors. The devices have sensors. The only thing these sensors are wired. So they go from the engine of your car. They go to the dashboard, right? Nowadays we need these sensors to sense and connect wirelessly and send the data over the air somewhere else, right? So that's what is IoT. IoT is connecting everything wirelessly. So there are so many applications out there, okay? And you have to depends on your application, what kind of devices you can afford to pay, okay? So for example, if you need to measure like a temperature of the volcano within like 5 miles area, right? You cannot drop PCs, 100,000 PC just to measure temperature, right? You have to have a sensor, right? And collect. So, and you have to build the network because you have to build the network to collect the data. It's your plan. It's your job to do it. So depends on the budget and what you can do. So, that's why I start with the wireless personal area network, wireless LAN, wireless wide area network. So these are the technologies in wireless area network. This is what we are talking about. IoT usually in here. So you could use ZigBee, Bluetooth, different other Wi-Fi also. You could use, all right, depends on the application. I'm sure in your project you're thinking about one of these, right? For connecting to the internet. Remember you are in your project building application. So your application, right? the people who having the mirror, smart door, smart house, smart whatever. So it's IoT only and only if it can send data to the internet. All right? So then give me application that send the data to itself or to a computer. It has to go over the cloud. That's what is the Internet of Things. So things are connected through the internet. Right? Anyways, so the data rate changes. So as you see, ZigBee is a very low data rate and it's a smaller area. So the distance, as you said, is about 10 feet. So ZigBee to ZigBee is about 10 feet. Otherwise, they can't hear each other. All right. We opened all of these applications last time. So definition of 802.15.4. Okay, also is a physical layer and medium access layer. So it's the first two layers because data link layer also has two sublayers, the MAC and the data link layer. Okay, so it supports that. The MAC sublayer specifies for regular wireless connectivity with fixed, portable, and moving devices with no battery over a limited battery consumption requirements, typically operating in personal operating space. That means within 10 meters. Within 10 meters. Okay? So don't expect that ZigBee will be able to send the data for a few miles or something, right? It is foreseen that depending on the application, a ruler range at a lower data rate may be an acceptable trade-off. So basically, when you look at the architecture, here is the architecture. So it starts with a physical layer. There's two bands. The first band is 86 megahertz, and the second one, the free band, the 2,400 megahertz. This is where Wi-Fi works, right? The Wi-Fi, for example, the B, the 802.11, the B and the G works in this band, right? Remember that when you do wireless transmission, and this is part of the wireless class, that you have to send within a band. You have to pick a band. Band is going to create a channels, right? So if two communication using the same band at the same time, what will happen? Collision, right? So you have to know which band. So there's two devices come with two different bands. And then on top of this we have the MAC. On top of that we have the SSCS and LLC, link layer control. Okay, so this is where ZigBee technology covers. All right, covers. So these two sublayers are part of this, and this one is part of that. All right, clear? So device types. There is two kinds of device types, if you remember. There is a full function device and there is reduced function device. You could find it like that. So the RFD can be used in a single application in which they do not need to transfer large amounts of data. All right, the full function. Okay, so the RFD, the reduced function device, could be only connected to the full function device. So the reduced could only be connected to the full. They cannot connect to each other. All right. However, the full function device can work as a PAN coordinator or coordinator. We said there's three types of devices in terms of functionality. There's PAN coordinator. PAN stands for what? Personal area network. Or coordinator or a leaf or simple device. So in terms of functionality, there's two types, FFD and RFD. In terms of function, there is PAN coordinator and simple device. So low rate, when talking about low rate, that means the data rate is very low. Wireless, that means the communication is wireless. PAN, personal area network, topologies. So there's two kinds of topologies, star and peer-to-peer. Okay? All right. The star topology, the RFD, what's RFD? The reduced functionality communicates with a single controller, the band coordinator. So always the the RFD, which is reduced, has to communicate with the PAN coordinator. They cannot communicate with another RFD. The PAN coordinator can perform the same function as RFD, but it is also responsible for controlling the PAN. So these are the things that it's responsible for. Peer-to-peer topology supports ad hoc mesh multi-hop. You know what's mesh network? That everybody is able to communicate with everybody. All right? Any device in the peer-to-peer topology can communicate with any other device within its communication range. All right? However, the topology also has a PAN coordinator. Always, we have to have a PAN coordinator. If you see the figure, so that's in here. So in the star topology, what we have in here, PAN coordinator. So everybody has to communicate with the PAN coordinator. Star. So if this node would like to send the data to this node, it has to go through that PAN coordinator. Right? In the mesh, all right, every node can communicate with other node, except if it's limited. So here, reduced. Reduced always has to communicate with a full function, all right, and with the PAN coordinator. So this is a full function, and this is a full function. This one cannot communicate with this. Why? Because this is not a PAN coordinator. Reduced has to communicate with full function, but also has to be a PAN coordinator. And then these can communicate with each other. So both network, mesh and star, they must have to have something called PAN coordinator. Clear? Okay. So so in here again, it's like they have a PAN coordinator. This kind of master-slave communication. So these are the RFD, and these are the RFD, and this is kind of full function devices. So in here you have peer-to-peer, okay, so point-to-point, and this is a PAN coordinator, and this network, and this network. We kind of create a cluster tree. This is combined topology, where you have the cluster, the stars. Star, they are clustered. Okay, clustered. Okay, so the physical layer, okay, there's two different services that physical layer provides. What are the two services? Okay, the physical data surface, that's number one. Number two is management surface. Remember again, we said that when you do communication, there's two kinds of data. Data for real data, and data for management. For management, right? Management, right? So the physical data surface controls the radio and thus the transmission and reception of the physical PDUs. So these PDUs, packet data units. Okay? Why we have another P? Because it's here. So PDU. But the one here is a physical PDU, is the lower one. Okay? The management surface performs many things. This is for management. Energy detection in the channel. So, what is the energy level? Detect if there is energy. Clear channel assessment. What is clear channel assessment? When you need to send the data over a channel, you have to make sure there is no other transmissions. You have to assess it. You have to do assessment. All right? Before sending the message, it provides LQ. What's LQI? Level equality indicator. Okay. For equality indicator. So the lower the number is the better. Okay. It's similar to RSSI, radio signal strength indicator, but that is the higher the better. Right. So different indication. Right. So there is a few bands. There's a free band and there's other band used. So to use different modulation, I'm sure you know this modulation from the DCC class, from wireless here, and the number of channels. So for example, in 415 megahertz, you have up to 16 channels. That will have in one area 16 communications, right? The PPDU packet format will start with a preamble, SFD, and the frame length 7 bits. So that means the maximum maximum length is how much? Of a frame? How much? 2 to the power 7, which is 127, right? 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 So because that's the indication of the frame length. Reserved, not used, and then the payload. Where is the payload coming from? From the data link, right? From the data link. Remember that the payload, so this, the payload in here becomes, okay, the whole thing becomes a payload here. Okay? And the whole thing in here becomes a payload in here. Right? The payload becomes bigger because it includes headers from the previous layer. Okay? So the least significant bit is always transmitted and received first. The PPDU size can be up to 127 bytes, 2.7, right? Because that's how. Right? So, what is the maximum size of a frame transmitted? 127 bytes. It's very small. Compare it to Ethernet. What is the Ethernet? 1,500 bytes, whatever it is. So it's much more bigger. Okay, friends. So then we take a look now. As you said, this is a header, right? This is from here is a header. Everything has information. So preamble for synchronization. Always in the frames, we have a preamble and post-amble, many protocols. This is to synchronize, right? All right. So the SFD field format, it has 8 bits, right? So it's 1 byte, 8 bits. And these are the bits 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, and it's a delimiter between the preamble and the packet, just to separate between the preamble and the packet itself. So always will have this value. The frame length, okay. What is the frame length? 7 bits in here, okay. If the value 0 to 4 then is reserved. 5 is the MAC PDU acknowledgement. 6 to 7 is reserved, and then if it's 8 to the AMAT physical, then it's MPDU, MAC PDU. So frame length, as mentioned in the 7-bit length, and signifies total number of objects contained in the PSDU or physical layer frame. PSDU carry physical layer information, PSDU always carry MAC sublayer information because it's coming from the second layer. Okay. So on top of that, what we have, on top of the physical layer, what we have the MAC, right? We have the data link layer, which has 2 sublayers, the MAC and data link layer, right? So the MAC layer interface between the SSCS and the physical layer. Refresh your memory. Here. So the MAC layer is interface between this and this. Right? So when we talk about MAC layer, then we're going to talk about this too. Okay? So what we are doing in here, somebody built the ZigBee for us. He built how the frame are designed, built the frames, built the headers, the information in the headers. Okay, somebody designed it, right? It's like somebody built a car for you. So you need to understand how is it built. That's what I'm trying to understand. So we know the ZigBee is a technology that spans the 2 bottom layers, okay? And of course, we're gonna transmit what? Frames. So we're trying to understand what's happening, what every element means in that frame. That's what we are doing here. Okay, just looking at details. It's like studying a manual for it. All right. This, if you are a person that's responsible for the security of the network and receiving the packets, you can analyze the packets. Okay, so that's what you have to understand very well. So that's what we are doing, that we are studying that. So similar to the physical layer, the MAC layer supports 2 surfaces. What are the 2 surfaces? Data surfaces and management surfaces. All right. The MAC data surface is responsible for the transmission and reception of MPDU. What's PDU? Packet data unit. MAC. MAC level. The MAC level. Through the physical layer. So the MAC, this is here what we have MPDUs. And here what we have PPDUs. MPDUs, PPDUs. M for the MAC level, P for physical level. Okay? So the MAC management surface, if the device is a coordinator, if the device, remember the device could be coordinator, could be
Simple device.
simple device. Okay, and what else? Huh? PAN coordinator. So 3 times, right? So the MAC management surface, if the device is a coordinator, manages the network beacons. What is beacons? Messages. Is another word for a message. But used for what? For management. For announcement. So if I am a router, I just started. I need to know everybody around me what I have to send. Beacon. We don't call it message, we call it beacon. What's beacon? Hey, I'm a router, ready if anybody wants to connect to me. That's why the access point in the ceiling sends a beacon. I'm available. Okay, beacons. Okay, that's for management. Okay. It is also responsible for PAN association and association. So you need to be associated with one. Associated, connected means only associated, and you have to be connected with one PAN. Frame validation, acknowledgement, providing, and to provide a reliable. Last time I explained what is the CSMA, collision channel, CS for CS, channel sensing, multiple access. So usually when you try to send the data on the channel, what you have to do, you have to sense. There is no other transmission. Why? Because you have multiple access. What is multiple access? Many nodes are trying to access that channel. So if two communications happen at the same time, the data will collide and will get corrupted. So in Ethernet, we don't use collision avoidance. We use collision CD, collision detection, which explained it last week. I'm not going to explain it again today. All right? And here we use collision avoidance. All right? So MAC layer frame format, okay, so defines 4 different frame types. So there is the beacon for management, data for data, acknowledgement for what? To acknowledge transmission of the data, and MAC command frame to send a command, MAC command frame. There is 4 types of messages or frames, okay, or MPDUs: acknowledgement, data and acknowledgement, beacons, and command, MAC command 4. All right. All right. So it's exactly like, you know, in this class there is 2 types of communication, for example. Okay, communication. Okay, communication explaining the class. Okay, or there is a communication asking questions to the students, and the third communication acknowledgement. You answer the questions. It's like that. Different time. How we know what kind of messages from the header? Some information in the header. The header will tell me what kind of message here, what kind of frame here, right? So 4 different types. Okay, all the frame types are based on the general MAC frame format. The frame control field describes and specifies the above different frame types. So MAC layer frame format. Every MAC frame comprises MHR, which consists of a frame control, a sequence number. Why you need a sequence number? Because usually if you have a big message, it will be divided into multiple messages. So you have to know the sequence, right? And you have to know if there is a frame is lost, which one you're going to resend again. So sequence number is very important. The information field and also contains the MAC payload. What's the MAC payload? Coming from when the MAC payload? from here. That's the MAC payload. So this payload will become the MAC payload. Data from above layer with the headers from the above layer. So different frame times have different MAC payload frames. Alright. So the general MAC layer frame, it starts with a frame control, sequence number, okay? Then destination and ID, where it's gonna go. Destination address, source and ID, source address. Then the frame payload which comes from the upper layer, and then FCS for message integrity, like CRC or FCS, frame control system, right? To check if the letter change. Right. All of this we call it MHR. Then we have the MAC payload, and then the FCS, which is the frame check sequence. Okay. Like the hashing, we do it in security, right? So as mentioned in ZigBee protocol standard, ZigBee MAC layer frame composed of a MAC header. MAC so this all this is the MAC header. This is the payload and the FCS. So header, payload, and FCS. So each frame includes MFR. This called this MFR, MFR, which is the FCS. The data in the MPDU follows the same order as the MPDU. The least significant bits are left in the frame as in the transit first. So frame control field. Where is the frame control field? Here. What's the size? 2 octets. How many bits? 16 bits, right? So, information. So, this you have to be able to understand it. Where is the map to understand it? Here's the map. Okay, bits 0 to 2 tells you the frame type. How many frame types we have? 4. We already explained them here, right? Frame types. So, from this first 2 bits, everybody will know what is the frame type. Is it a beacon? Is it the data? Is it acknowledgement? Information in the header tell you what is the type. Alright? Then in here, is there security enabled or no? Frame bending, acknowledgement request, enter pan, those go multiple pans. Reserved. Reserved means what? Not used. Doesn't matter what the values in here doesn't use. Okay? And this is destination addressing mode and reserve and source addressing mode. Okay? That means for the frame type, there's 2 bits. How many options we have? 2 to power 2, how much? 4 options, right? 2 options, 0 or 1. 2 options, 7, 8, 9, 2 to power 3, how many? 8 options. Do we have options in here? No. Why? It says reserved. It's not used. So if you put 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, does not make difference. It's not reserved. Any number does not make any difference. It's not used. 10 and 11, how many options we have? 4. So that means destination as in how many ones we could have? 4. Not used. 4. Just I'm trying to teach you how to read any frame. This or this, and you have to know how to read it, Alright? So for example, and here, frame type subfield. Where's the frame type subfield? Here. How many options? 4. So frame type subfield 0 to 2. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So how many have? How many options? 8. 8 options. 0, 1, 2. I'm sorry. So how many 8? So here. If it's 0, 0, 0, beacon frame. 0, 0, beacon frame. 0, 0, 1, data frame. Acknowledgement. That one man. From this to this, reserve. It's not used. Alright? So from the first 3 bits, what you can know, the type of the frame. Which frame we're talking about? The MAC frame. Yes.
We only need 2 bits to represent 4 data, 4 times. Right?
Sure.
Why are we again using 3 bits?
That's how they designed it. Okay, so this is one type, second type, third type, fourth type. The rest are not used. So now we have how many types? 4.
4, yeah.
But in the future we might be adding different types. So they design it with expansion. So if we're gonna have 5 types, how many bits we need? 3, because 2 to power 3, 8. So it will give you that expansion. That's how it's designed. Again, I mean, we are here reading the manual. How is it designed, right? Yes, I mean, you say, oh, they're wasting one, but they are wasting many bits in here. So there's a lot of things that are not used, right? Reserved and all that, right? So anyways, that's the frame type, right? Beacon frame format. Okay, if it's a beacon frame, what is beacon? It has to start with what? 000. So you'll see the frame control here will be 000. Then the data changes after that. So then we'll have sequence number, then addressing field, super frame specification, GTS field, ending and so on. So from the frame type, you could know what are the fields are following. All right, from the fields following. All right, so the beacon frame is transmitted periodically by the PAN coordinator. It's by only the PAN coordinator. The coordinator maybe does not send it. Definitely, simple no does not send it. All right. It provides information about the network management through the super frame and GTS field. It also synchronizes the network devices. So one of the most difficulties we have in such networks is how to synchronize the nodes. Synchronize means what? Same time. Same time, right? So how you synchronize them? Because any clock, it will drift. Even your computer, by the way, your computer recently, the time does not change because you are connecting to something called time server. So every 1 minute it goes to the time server and adjusts the clock. All right? Go and disable the time server in your PC. What will happen? You'll see difference. See 1 minute and in a month or something like that. If you have 1 minute difference, what will happen? You will not be able to look into any server. Because part of the servers, like Kerberos or the time has to be perfect. If the time is drift, you cannot be able to connect. I mean, go to the lab, to any computer in our labs, okay, change the time, make the time wrong. And then try to log into your account, you cannot log in, because it will not authenticate you. This is part of security. Alright? Same thing with these devices, they need to be synchronized. Okay, they have the same clock. So you have to use this frame. So data frame format, this is the data frame format. So start with the control. So what will be the for data? It will be 0, 1. And as you notice in here, then after that changes, the information changes. So this is the data variable. So it encapsulates data from higher layers. Once connection is established, the data frame carry data. The format of data frame is similar to generic NAND frame format. Then acknowledgement, that's the acknowledgement. So the frame control will be what? 0, 1, 0. Okay? Then you're gonna have the sequence number and then all. Okay? Then the command frame is the command frame. Okay? Okay, so useful for communication between the network devices. The command identifier specifies action like association. Do association, dissociation, data, GTS, beacon, request. All of these are used. ZigBee protocols support different command frames for different use cases. So in here we have command frames. So command frame ID. Where is the ID? Command frame ID. Command frame ID. Okay, command frame ID. Alright? Okay. So this different kind of commands. So you have association request, association response, the association notification, data request, and ID conflict notification. So if there is, remember that who assigns the IDs is the PAN, the coordinator. What if there is ID conflict? Somebody has to report it. What if I give him, call him James and call her James? I'm going to say, James, who's going to respond to me? Both. See? Because they are both James, right? So this is a problem. So somebody has a, so this is like conflict notification, orphan notification. There is an orphan. Orphan means doesn't have a parent, it's not connected. Okay, beacon request, coordinator, we alignment, BTS request, and observer. So these all kind of command frames, kind of frame for reason. Then we have the super frame, and every band has its own coordinator. So every band, personal area has to have its own coordinator. As like you are computer science students, for example, you have your chairperson or your advisor. Okay, so whenever you need to register a class, you have to go to your advisor, right? So there's a coordinator. The PAN coordinator manages the communication in the local area, right? In the local area. So we have a PAN like that, as we call it a PAN. Okay, so we have in here, for example, the coordinator, and you have nodes. Let's say you have mesh, right? So everybody kind of communicating with the coordinator. Okay? So band coordinator manages the communication in the local area. It has two options to use or not use in the super frame structure. The super frame uses network beacons. Super frame uses network beacons. If the coordinator does not want to use super frame structure, this is one of the structures, new structures for the beacon super frame. Okay, suspends the beacon transmission. Suspends the beacon transmission. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the super frame. So the beacon is basically important for device association and dissociation. So let's say we have this network. We just throw a ZP device in here. What is the first thing it has to do? Get associated with the network. Get associated with the network, right? All right. And if it has to join a different PAN, it has to get dissociated and associated again. All right. Association and dissociation. All right. So after the coordinator wishes to maintain close communication control in the PAN and to support low latency devices, it usually uses the super frame. Okay, super frame structure will start communicating with these devices for different functions using the super frame. One of the functions is to get association or dissociation with the device. A super frame determines a specific time period beacon bound is. Alright, so MAC frame structure, the MAC frame structure. So 4 types of MAC frames: data frame, beacon frame, acknowledgement, MAC and MAC. We are reading that, right? So when you look at the MAC layer here, the MAC layer, how it looks like. Okay, it has the MAC header and it has the MAC surface data unit, MSSDU, and then we have the MAC footer. The MAC footer. So header, footer, and the payload. Payload coming from where? From there, right? From the upper one. Alright? Then it goes down to where? Here. What do we have in here? So you have the synchronization header, SHR. HR means header. Then after that, physical header. Then after that, we have the MAC protocol data units and the physical server data protocol. So it depends which packet. Is this the packet? Remember we said in the physical layer there's 2 kinds of packet: management and real data. So if it's management, okay, it will be yes. If it's data, it will be yes. Simple. I mean, there's nothing. Just you have to understand it. It's like somebody gave you a manual for a car, so you just figure it out. All right. So super frame starts with a beacon. Okay. Yeah. Okay. sign and beacon. It's a very clear optional thread structure. So in here we have, for example, contention-free period. What's contention? Free. You don't allow devices to compete to get access. Okay. However, in here, this is contention after period. So from 1 to 8, for example, nodes can pick up one of the slots for the transmission. Contention means competition. All right. So yeah, the super frame is like taking frames from different devices and send it once. Right. So this is the contention-free period and this contention access period. So when you look in here, this one is like building a super frame. It's built of multiple things. So this is a slot 0, for example, here. Let's take a look in here. So this is a network beacon transmitted by NAND coordinator, contains network information, frame structure, and notification of pending node messages. So this is like a beacon. Then after that, what you have, beacon extension period. So the beacon did not cover the whole period. This is the extension period. So space reserved for beacon growth due to pending node messages. Alright. Then after that, what we have in here, this is last, we have contention period. What's contention period? Nodes could compete to transmit. Okay. So access by any node using CSMA. Okay. So any node could have access during that period. Right? So before they transmit the device, so this is the coordinator and we have the devices. So when they need to transmit, what they have to do, they have to reserve the slot, transmit. Then when there is slot finished, they have to reserve another slot or keep it for somebody else, wait until they have another slot. All right? It's exactly like when I'm explaining the clause, it's contention-free period, you cannot talk. But when I ask a question, now it's a contention, so I ask a question, okay, explain to me. Then if he needs to talk, he has to raise his hand, he will reserve his slot to stop talking. She cannot stop talking while he's talking, because there will be collision, right? So they compete, then the second person, right? So that's what is contention. And then guaranteed time slot reserved for nodes requiring guaranteed bandwidth. Some nodes will reserve it for guaranteed bandwidth to do it transmission. So optional frame structure, this is here. A super frame may have an inactive period. Again, another so for the map super frame, what we have network beacon extension period, contention period, guaranteed time slot. Okay. So for data transfer types, 3 different types of data transfer exist. Data transfer from a device to the bank coordinator. Device need to send it to the bank coordinator. And data transfer from the PAN. From the PAN, okay? And peer-to-peer data transfer. There's data, okay, 3 types. The types differ if the coordinator used or does not use. It will be different if it will be done. So data transfer from device to the PAN. So you have coordinator, this is the device, and PAN coordinator. So the coordinator will send the beacon. Okay? Tell you I'm ready to receive your data. The network device will send the data, then will send the acknowledgement, which is optional. So in here, the communication started from where? The PAN. So send a message to the device. You have data, send it to me. Beacon. Okay? Beacon. We have data, device. If he has, we'll send data, and then you can send. That's what we call beacon-enabled network. Some networks have beacons. You can disable the beacons. For disabled beacons, any device has the data. We'll send it just to where? To the coordinator, which could cause collision. If 2 devices would like to send at the same time, collision could happen. And then you could send down acknowledgement. Using the beacon, is it good or not good? Good and not good. It's not good because you are sending a lot of data, more data. This beacon is messages, right? That means you're consuming more power, right? However, you're reducing the amount of line collision. All right, so that's how you use it. So if the network is not very busy, don't use beacon. If it's super busy, there is a lot of collision coordinated, right? It's by design, or what you need to do, what kind of network. So data transfer from the PAN coordinator, the PAN to the network. So the coordinator will send the beacon, tell them that I need to send you a data. Then it will send data request, acknowledgement, then will send the data. And then the acknowledgement. So the data originally going from where? From the coordinator to the network device. It does not just send it to it, it sends the beacon, and then when it's ready, it says data request, send me the data you want to give to me. You bother me, what are you going to tell me? Send me the data. And acknowledgement and the data. And then it will be acknowledgement. So this is beacon enabled. Or for the network that does not have a beacon, okay, the network defines data request, acknowledgement, and sends the data, and then acknowledgement. Okay, peer-to-peer data transfer. Peer-to-peer, directly without antenna. So the devices are free to communicate with any other device within their communication range, which is about 10 meters. So from here to there is about 10 meters. Okay, they are free to communicate. So if this is a Zigbee, and this is Zigbee, within the range, they can communicate. Right? In a peer-to-peer PAN, the devices can either receive constantly or synchronize with each other. So either receive or synchronize when to receive. So, okay, so you could just, anytime you have a data, just send it, communicate, or you could synchronize, right? Okay, this only communicate on the top of the hour. Just not making a story, making up a story, okay? So synchronize, either synchronized or just without synchronization. If they are receiving constantly to transmit data, they use unslotted CSMH unslotted. You don't have to go slotted. In the second case, synchronization must be achieved first. All right. So that's we learned what we have learned about the Zigbee, about the three types of devices, two functional devices, full function and lower function, about the topology star and peer-to-peer. We said it spans how many layers? 2 layers, the MAC and the physical. We have looked at the frame format and the physical, the frame format at the MAC layer, what every field means, how the headers are built, right? There's 4 types of data. There's data acknowledgement, command, and beacon. All right, we have studied all of that, okay? And we studied about the beacon, system with a beacons or without beacons, super frame, okay? You're just reading in the manual how it works, right? And we know that this is small frames, 127 bytes, right? Okay, we're gonna come to the most important thing, which is security. Okay, security. Okay, provide a security baseline, including the ability to maintain an ACL. What is ACL? Access control list. Access control list. And use symmetric cryptography. What is symmetric cryptography? They share the same key, right? There is symmetric and asymmetric. People talk security, right? Symmetric, that means they share the same key, okay, for data encryption. So basically here when you communicate Zigbee with a Zigbee, okay, they could share a key and all the communication between them will be encrypted. And the devices could maintain access control list. Access control list. Allow, disallow, permit, don't allow, don't permit, and so on and so forth. Good? Good, makes sense. Finally, it makes sense. All right? All right. So an algorithm that is used for encryption is AES. Do you know what AES? Of course you do. You're on my class in network security, right? You took YouTube. Anybody took network security before? No? You should. You cannot live without network security. Did you take network security?
No.
No?
I'm in the class.
You are graduating, So the higher level layers decide when security is needed. All right? It has to be by agreement, right? The super layers are in general responsible for device authentication and key management. What device authentication? I mean, this is again a security 101 security. You have to have authentication. You have the device is authentic, right? Is it a legitimate device that could communicate? If you communicate with any device, there is a network that could bring my device, put it between your devices, and will send all the wrong information, destroy your network. So you should be able to receive data from this device if it's authentic. If it's not authentic, don't worry about it. Don't listen to it, right? Okay? And we said usually in the client server also authentication has to be both ways. So let's say you have an account in Citibank, all right? So when you log in, the Citibank server needs to authenticate you. Okay, I am Mr. or Dr. I was named, right? All right? But also, I have to authenticate that I'm going to the Citibank. Because somebody sent you a link, okay, well, you have money transfer, $500,000 in your account, log in, and they give you the link for Citibank. You click, you put your information, it's got everybody knowing that. Okay, so you have to authenticate yourself to the server and so on and so forth. So the authentication has to be national. It has to be, okay? And what is key management? Because we talk about symmetric, right? So this ZigBee, this is not a ZigBee, this is a ZigBee, nice cell phone. Okay, ZigBee and ZigBee, they need to communicate, they need to encrypt the data, they have to share a key. So we have to manage the keys. What kind of key management? So ZigBee, a new standard which became publicly available in June 5, 2005, is based on the IEEE 802.15 standard. It expands the protocol by adding a framework for network construction, security, application layer services. So the key here is security. So the new standard becomes secure. So as you see in here, this is the ZigBee stack. Starts from the physical layer where we have two bands. Then we have the interface between the MAC layer, okay? And then we have in here, we have the network layer. And we're gonna have, spanning these two layers, the application and the network security service provider. And in here we have ZigBee management. Right. So, network layer, in the network layer, the ZigBee standard works on top of the 15.4 addressing scheme by using the standard 64-bit, and each address, each device has to have address. The standard is 64 bits, but it could be less. Like the Ethernet is how many bits? 48. And you could have the short version, which is 16-bit address. Network layer responsibilities: establishing the new network, new device configuration, addressing the assignment network synchronization. Remember, the PAN coordinator assigns what? An address. So if there is some enemy outside trying to assign the wrong address, or try to duplicate the address, put a device and copy the address from a real one, and instead of the data go to the good ZigBee device, goes to the clone one. So this needs to be security, right? It needs to be secured, right? Right? So so frame security and message routing. In device use notion of logical devices, ZigBee coordinator is the first time of logical devices. It is responsible for initializing, maintaining, and managing that. Under the coordinator in the network server is the ZigBee routers. The coordinator and router responsible for controlling the message routing between nodes. Because we want to make sure that messages are routed to the right place. It's not going out, somebody getting it and all of that. ZigBee in device acts as endpoint of that network. Right? In device is only receiving the data or sending the data to a coordinator. It's not routing data. Okay? It cannot connect with reduced function devices, okay, etc., etc. Right? So, and here what you have in the network in here, for example, this is the green one in here is ZigBee coordinator. and it has to be full functional device. Then you have ZigBee router, and also the router has to be a full functioning device, and then ZigBee int device, which is a reduced or full, which is these like reduced. Okay. So the one do the coordination and the routing are full function devices where they implement security measurements. Okay? So in here what we have the star, create the star and we have mesh. So security services are provided by ZigBee. There's key establishment, how to establish the key transport. So you have to establish a key. What is the key, right? Then you have to transport it. Then frame protection. What's the frame protection? Encryption. Okay? And device management to divide the time. The security mechanism covers the network and application layer. So from the application layer to the notion of end-to-end security, like in TCP, we have the end-to-end security. Right? Is supported the source and destination devices have access and use the same shared key. So end-to-end security means that you encrypt in here. So this is the network. You encrypt the data in here. It's gonna go in here, still encrypted. Goes in here, encrypted. It goes in here, still encrypted. Nobody can read it. Here, encrypted. The only place where you could encrypted is at the destination. So it's end-to-end security. Be encrypted all the way up. And we're talking about the payload. You cannot encrypt the headers. Okay, because if you encrypt the headers, you don't have a map. Alright? You don't have a map. How you know the map? Through the information coming from the headers. So it should be encrypted carefully, that encrypts the data end to end, but does not encrypt the headers. Or if it encrypts the header, it needs to be decrypted in between only the headers, the information. That's what we call it end-to-end security. Okay? The MAC layer uses AES mechanism to provide security encryption technique. So the mechanism protects security in ZigBee. It is the confidentiality. What's the confidentiality? The data is in confidence. Nobody knows it except the source to the destination. So you send the data encrypted confidentially, and only the destination can read it after decrypting it. Okay? Number two is integrity. Okay? Integrity, you don't have integrity means the data is not changed. Okay? Did not change. So like you use for like RCR or for integrity of the data. Okay? Alright, so the data is not changed. Okay? Number three, authentication. And you know what authenticity? To be authenticity. So the auxiliary header field in the front of the MAC payload indicates if the frame is encrypted or not. So the frame could be encrypted or not encrypted. How we know? By extra header field. The MAC frame integrity is supported by calculating using the MEC, message integrity control, at the end of the MAC payload. Nonce is used to provide MAC confidentiality. For different security aspects, the MAC layer uses different form of AES. Different form. So number one, for the encryption, it uses AES encounter CTR mode, and this is we explained it, very well in network security. Go back to network security. And for integrity, it uses CBC and MAC and combination CCM for the offers. So security free frame, this is synchronization, this is the physical header, the MAC header. If it's encrypted, we can add what? Auxiliary header. To indicate what? There's encryption. And we add MEC at the end for data integrity. To calculate MEC, it will use all of this in here to calculate the MAC, the message integrity control. All right? So, CCN, modified MAC layer, CCN mode, is used for encryption. Two single key is used for all different security options. The network layer security message format is similar to MAC frame, although the network layer is responsible for securing its layers messages. The above layer specify the keys and the same options for the region. So the keys are provided in the upper layer, and then the implementation happens in the MAC layer. So again, here that's how it looks. Okay, here we have the auxiliary key and MAC and Anyways, it uses the link key or the network key to secure the message. Okay. Either key will be fine. Encapsulates it inside a set of fields similar to the network format. Other security responsibilities that application layer has are to provide the ZBO and the application with. So this security starts from the application level, not the MAC layer level. So you could have extra security, right? Device management services, and key establishment and key transport. Okay, so you have the physical header, the MAC header, the network header, the ABS, HDR, application level, header, and for security. Okay. So the ZP application layer contains the manufacturer-defined application object, the ZDO, and the application software. So again, this is security stuff that the application level is implemented. Anyways, what we conclude here, ZP applications are in diverse areas. ZP Alliance work as a non-for-profit organization, and the physical layer and MAC layer is divided by 802.54, and ZP as function application services, and they give you some references here. Thank you.